She wore a white dress, pure, flawless, expensive. The kind of dress that whispers power. But that same dress, stained by a gust of dust from a street sweeper's broom, would become the beginning of everything changing. The sun had barely risen when the street cleaner began his quiet work, sweeping the empty sidewalks of the city. He moved with rhythm, with care, while the world rushed past him unseen. Then from a sleek black car, she stepped out. High heels, designer sunglasses, a trail of perfume. She was elegance untouchable, until one moment of wind, one sweep of the broom, and—
Are you kidding me? This dress costs thousands.
But the man didn't flinch. He looked her in the eye and said calmly,
You're upset about dirt on your dress. I see people every day who don't even have shirts.
the sun rose gently over the bustling city of Marigold, casting long shadows on its cobbled streets. Its tall buildings shimmered with glass and opulence, towering over narrow alleys where morning labor had already begun. The hum of traffic mixed with the clang of broom against pavement as a street sweeper began his daily work. Emile, in his early 30s, had swept these streets for years. With a calm heart and quiet dignity, he took pride in keeping the city clean, even though most people never noticed him. His hands were calloused, his boots worn, and his clothes permanently dusty. Still, his spirit remained unbroken. In a stark contrast across the boulevard, a woman stepped out of a gleaming black car. She wore a snow-white designer dress and glittering heels that clicked with every step. Her name was Clarissa Duval, an heiress to one of the most powerful fashion houses in the country. Her eyes were hidden behind oversized sunglasses, and her lips were painted like red lacquer. Wherever she went, people turned their heads in admiration or envy. Clarissa had planned to attend a high-profile art gallery opening that morning. It was a place of camera flashes, free champagne, and sycophantic flattery, the kind of event she lived for. As fate would have it, Emile had just begun sweeping the edge of the pavement where her driver dropped her off. A sudden gust of wind kicked up a swirl of dust from his broom, blowing it directly onto Clarissa's pristine white dress. "Ugh! Are you kidding me?" Clarissa screeched, stepping back in horror. The street went quiet for a second as passers-by looked on. Emile froze, broom in hand. "You filthy man," she snapped. "Do you know how much this dress costs? Do you know who I am?" "I meant no harm," Emile said gently. "I was just doing my job." "Your job?" she scoffed. "Well, your job just cost me thousands of dollars." "I'm sorry, miss. I can't control the wind." "You people have no awareness. Look at you. You don't even understand the value of cleanliness, and yet you call yourself a sweeper. Pathetic." A few onlookers murmured, disapproving of her harsh tone, but none intervened. Emile stood tall, though his heart sank. "You complain about dirt on your dress," he said calmly, "but there are children who don't even have shirts. You cry over a stain while others wear rags." Clarissa opened her mouth to retort but stopped. Emile continued, "Every morning I see people digging through bins, hoping to find something clean to wear. And while you yell at me, I hear others whisper, 'I wish I had water.' Not perfume, not champagne, just water." The street fell into an eerie silence. Clarissa stared at him, as if suddenly unsure of who she was yelling at. For a moment she saw not a dusty worker, but a man full of sorrow, compassion, and quiet power. Then she turned and walked away. That night, Clarissa couldn't sleep. The incident replayed in her mind again and again. She'd yelled before, at waiters, assistants, drivers. But this time was different. Something about the man's words had dug deep into her soul. She stood by her balcony, sipping wine, staring at the glowing skyline. The city looked so perfect from here, but now she wondered, what lay beneath that glow? What had she never cared to see? She thought of her closet, hundreds of dresses, some never worn, shoes in boxes, jewelry in drawers, luxuries stacked like trophies. And then she thought of the man, his hands, his eyes, his words. The next morning she returned to that street, not in her usual car, but in simple jeans and a plain blouse. Her assistant was baffled when she refused her makeup team and left without any security. She didn't find Emile that day, nor the day after. But she did something else. She walked into the shelters, the soup kitchens, the neighborhoods she had only ever seen from the windows of her penthouse. She sat with people, talked to them, heard their stories. She saw a mother using an old t-shirt as a diaper for her baby. She saw teenagers with holes in their shoes, trying to get to school. She saw the thirst Emil spoke of, not just for water, but for hope, for dignity, for compassion. Clarissa went home and cried for the first time in years. Change started subtly. A new wing opened in her fashion company, Second Thread, which used sustainable materials and donated every second item sold to the needy. Her company began partnering with organizations to create jobs for the homeless and provide free clothing to struggling families. People were skeptical at first. Some thought it was just PR. But over time, it became clear that Clarissa had changed. And one morning, almost a year later, as she walked past that familiar boulevard, she saw him again, Emil, still sweeping. "Good morning," she said with a warm smile. Emil looked up, blinking in surprise. "Miss Duval?" "Just Clarissa," she said. "May I buy you a cup of coffee?" They sat at a small cafe nearby. The contrast between them had lessened, but not vanished. He still wore his dusty boots. She still looked radiant, but there was mutual respect in their eyes. "I never thanked you," she said. "You changed me." "I only spoke the truth," Emil replied. "But I'm glad you heard it." They began to talk about their lives, their dreams, their fears. Emil spoke of his younger days, how he once dreamed of becoming an engineer, but life had taken a harsher path. Clarissa shared her own struggles, the pressure of legacy, the loneliness behind glamour. What started as an unlikely friendship soon blossomed into something deep and rare. They met regularly, sometimes at soup kitchens, sometimes at rooftop gardens. They began working together on community projects, launching programs to teach skills to the underprivileged, providing clothing, shelter, and clean water. Then something surprising happened. Emil, with Clarissa's encouragement and support, returned to school. He took night classes in management and economics. Clarissa introduced him to professionals who mentored him. His natural leadership and compassion made him a remarkable presence in every room. Eventually, Emil began overseeing operations at Second Thread. Then he started his own nonprofit, From the Ground Up, which empowered former street workers, cleaners, and manual laborers to become entrepreneurs and educators. In just a few years, Emil became a voice of hope in the city. Interviews, awards, TV shows, his face was now recognized by thousands. He didn't seek the spotlight, but it found him nonetheless. Ironically, Emil had now become the rich one. But wealth didn't change him. Instead, it amplified the goodness he had always carried. Clarissa, too, remained his closest friend. They laughed together, cried over letters from the people they helped, and supported each other through the growing demands of their work. One evening during a charity gala where Emil was the keynote speaker, he began his speech with a simple sentence. "A rich woman once yelled at me because I ruined her dress." There was laughter. And that same woman, unknowingly, rescued my dreams from the garbage bin of forgotten potential. She saw beyond the dirt and into the dignity of a man. Clarissa blinked back tears. "We both changed each other," he continued, "and that to me is wealth." Years later, walking together through a park, Clarissa turned to Emil and said, "Funny, isn't it? You used to be the street sweeper, and now you're the one signing checks with more zeros than I ever imagined." Emil chuckled. "And you? You're still the same woman who turned around when most would have kept walking." She nudged him playfully. "I think we both become rich in the best way." And they kept walking. Two friends, once strangers divided by dust and diamonds, now united by heart.